Welcome to another episode of Sweet 915. Today's topic is generation disparities with Generation X and the Millennials. I'm your host, Curtis Smith, and my co host,
It's me, Fedora. How you doing, Curtis?
yes, me. Hey, I'm good. My Steelers won again. It's NFL Sunday, and thank y'all for tuning in again with us. Uh, we're going to talk a little about current events. Hey, Super Tuesday is November the 3rd. This Tuesday, what they call Super Tuesday, is Election Day. Get out
Oh,
and make your vote count. Uh, COVID numbers are still rising. They're trying to get a hold on it, and we have a curfew in effect. What's it, 10
yes,
o'clock?
10 to 5.
10 p.m. You got to be, yep, 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. So let's not get ourselves in trouble. The last day to vote is Tuesday, November 4th. So vote. We have some upcoming shows. We're listening to some of what you have submitted topics you want us to address. And if you'd like to be a guest on Suite 915 for the following upcoming shows, let us know. Next week, we have a special guest, retired Army Warrant Officer Miss Shannon Savory. We will continue the conversation about domestic abuse, but this time the focus is on narcissism.
Mm.
Narcissism. We want to hear from you about the pros, cons, and everything in between about dating during a pandemic. So we're going to talk about that as well. But today, hmm, she's smiling. I'm ready. She's going to teach us something. She said she's going to teach us something. Our
All
special
right, we
guest,
ready to listen.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
ready too. Our special guest is none other than the daughter of our very own co-host, Fedora, Miss Fedora. We have Miss Ashley Johnson. She's a millennium and she wants to have a discussion about the different perspectives millenniums and the Generation Z demographics have when it comes to relationships, marriage, and more. They want to hear from Generation X, which is myself and Miss Fedora. Welcome to the show, Ashley.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm excited.
I'm excited too because you said you're going to teach us something. I want to hear this.
Yes. Y'all say y'all gonna teach me something. I just want to make sure y'all are open to
Well,
learning.
we're
Well,
going to show you that we're not really that old school as I heard you say. We're
Hmm.
we're we kind of can understand what the millennials are trying to tell us. However,
hmm
there's some, as we say, the road that we've traveled and paths that we have traveled that you have yet to travel, and you're
Yeah,
hmm
just trying to make sure you don't go down the same path.
that's
But
it.
the
Some things
millennials,
we have hindsight about.
hmm
yeah, but the
Yes, you guys have hindsight about things. We have hindsight about other things that y'all may not have high insight about.
oh,
You know?
so where do you want to start? You want to start with relationships, or you want to start about you want to talk about what you think the disparities are with us and the millennials?
Well,
Let's.
first,
Oh,
can I tell what those ages are?
Go ahead.
Because
Go ahead.
some of our listeners they may not know. So,
Yeah.
Generation Z is from ages 7 to 22. Millennials are ages 23 to 38, and Generation X, which is us, are ages 39 to 54. And then we also have baby boomers, 55 to 73. So this is the conversation that we're going to have. All right, go ahead, Ashley. Sorry.
Yeah. Tell everybody how old you are, Ashley, before we begin as well.
I am 24,
Yeah.
so I'm what and right in the middle of millennials and stuff.
Okay.
But I'm just gonna give my, let's say, perspective and things how I, let's say, operate. I'm not the voice of all millennials, not all females or millennials think like I do.
Okay.
I don't think, but I would like to talk about relationships. I want to get your guys' perspective on relationships.
Okay.
So let's just jump on in on that. Let's just
Just
start that.
jump on it. So
So
who's
Go
gonna
do it.
so can I ask Miss Fedora the question first?
Sure.
So Miss Fedora,
Hmm.
um, what do you think the disparity in the millennial relationship compared to Generation X or millennial? I mean, not the millennial compared to Generation X. What do you think of some of the disparities that you got to say? You know what? You might want to rethink that person that you're trying to date or something like that, or the way they're going about. certain situations before they get into a relationship?
Um, I guess the time factor
Mm-hmm.
and knowing the person, and then also the outcome of the relationship. So once it passes the friendship mode or whatever, I know Ashley, you like to use the term vibing. Um, if once it passes that and gets serious, so to speak, or whatever they consider serious, then what is the goal? What is the goal you're looking for in your relationship? And when I say goal, I mean, do you want to spend the rest of your life with this individual? So in that point, it's like for us, we all had a goal. Growing up, you had a goal, whether you wanted to be married or not, whether you wanted to have children or not. There was in the back of your mind when you were younger, you knew, okay, I do want a husband. I want to get married one day. I want to have X number of children one day. And true enough, that changes because reality hits, right? So in all through high school or what have you, you always had a goal, you had a plan, right?
Okay.
So the disparity is with Generation Z or no, with the millennials.
Uh-huh.
They I don't think they have a goal. They don't have a goal set in place. So it's just like, okay, we're dating, we like each other. Okay, we can just live with each other for eternity. Like we don't need the actual paper, or we don't need to express our love in a way that we say we're going to be married. We can just stay together forever until we, death do us part. And we don't need this legal document. So that's the disparity, I think. And then at us, as our generation, we're saying, no, you might want to rethink that, because there are different reasons why you do need a piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're in a relationship with a person, and I've had this conversation with my daughter and with other people as well, if you don't have that piece of paper in the eyes of society, and I mean legal wise, because when a person passes, God forbid they are deceased, and you're in a relationship with that person, you might find out they have a child, a relative, or a sister or a brother that they have no connection with, and you might have heard of that person, but they're not down with that person, and then they can come into the picture and take monies, go for medical. If the person is in the hospital, they can go and override you, and you've probably been with this person for 30 years, but you have no say at that point. So that's another reason why you need the piece of paper, the legality of it, to show that, okay, yes, we have become one in this union, and now this person has a say over me, as far as power of attorney or whatever the case may be. So I'm not looking at it in the biblical standpoint, but also adding to that, I'm looking at it from the actual legal standpoint as well. So yeah, anybody want to comment on that, or go for it, Ashley?
Go for it, Ashley. Let's hear what do you think, Ashley? What she's saying, is that relevant? Does it
It
make
is.
sense when you're having that conversation? With your
Every
mom?
time me and my mom have this conversation, she always refers to, well, basically, like what she just said. You need to get married because if that person dies, you have a say,
Mhm.
and that's like her main argument when talking about marriage. So that's fine. But when it comes to her, let's say her saying planning and stuff like that, I feel like that is true. We don't really plan stuff or whatever, but I don't view that as what did you say, a disparity.
Mhm.
I don't definitely have goals in your life, because then you're just, wasting time if you're not working towards anything within your life. But within relationships, I like to be in the moment, I would like to say. So
Mhm.
I'm not going to be like, okay, well, we've been together for 6 years. It's time for you to put a ring on it because society says so. No, that's not how I go around things.
Okay.
I'm not big on marriage because
Mhm.
I like to be in the moment. And out of everything society is saying, let's say, oh yeah, well, you're supposed to get married. 50%, I think it's higher now, of marriages end up in divorce anyway. So what is the point? That's like
Of what marriages?
of marriages in general. Of all you usually don't end up with the person you marry. It's rare. Just like your high school sweetheart.
Mhm.
you end up with the high school. That's super rare, but it happens, right?
Right.
I feel like it's rare that you stay with that person, because life happens, kids, mortgage, all that stuff. Life happens, so things change. So I'm I don't see a whole bunch of value in, let's say, like my mom said, a piece of paper. She was referring to it as a piece of paper. And that's how I view it. It's a piece of paper.
Right.
I like to like live in the moment. I don't like to plan ahead because, when you plan stuff, God laughs at you like, okay, that's funny, but I have a whole different, plan for you anyway. It could be along the lines of what are trying to plan for yourself, but God's plan is much better anyway. And it might not be along the lines of your plan. So I don't plan. I don't plan stuff like. I think I have a 3-year plan, but it has nothing to do with my relationship. It's just career wise. Like I have a goal set where I want to be, but relationships, no, I'm not big on that at all.
So yeah, they're gonna tear you up today. So I hope you're ready for this one. When the grown-ups start to get on the call, they got a whole lot of questions and they hope you have the answer for it. So
Sure.
so when you say I don't want to plan, so let's say God forbid, something happens where your mother can't work anymore. Now your mother taking care of you from this point to this point. You went to college and so on and so forth. Now it's time to take care of mom, but you didn't plan anything
To take care of her?
Yeah. So that's more yeah. So you didn't plan anything because you said I don't plan. So now she needs you to take care of her, but you didn't plan anything. You didn't say, well, here's my backup plan if something happens to my mom or me or whatever. Let's use you for instance. Let's say you're dating this guy. You've been dating for 6 years. You don't have a plan. He decides, it's over. Now, Fedora's old school.
What?
You can't come back to mama house. You
Oh,
can't
Miss Johnson, I can't come back to your house.
She's had this conversation with you. She's had this conversation with you. She's saying, Ashley, what's the game plan? You've been with this guy for 6 years, going on 6 years. Are you going to marry him or you just still having fun?
Yeah,
so at the 6-year mark, Christmas Eve, he tells you, Ashley, I just this ain't working for me no more.
Okay.
You okay with that?
I'm okay with that because I will never depend on a man. So he can do, break up with me and all that stuff. It's not gonna be like I'm, butt out. I ain't got no place to stay. I'm gonna have my own regardless. Like I'm gonna have.
So these 6 years, this 6 years y'all been together. You didn't think that both our names need to be on the lease. So, if he decided to say what he said to you, then he had to go because he's the one that said, I don't want to be with you anymore.
Of course, but as a woman, you always have to have your own. You can have joint stuff as well. That's perfect. But always have your own just in case. Let's say in your case, a man says up and wakes up, oh, well, I don't want to be with it. Okay, I'm sad, but I'm going to be good regardless because I ain't going to be homeless. I'm not depending on you. I have my own. So that's where my head is along those lines.
So
is that a problem? Is that a problem that women have?
No. And I say you're that way because that's my mentality. That you never, like back in the day, I would say maybe my mom's generation. So that would be I guess the silent that list older than 73. But back when she was in that generation, that was like the goal. You went to college to find a husband. Now, when I went to college and I knew that I wasn't going to find my husband in college because I didn't want none of those jokers, by the way they, behaved and act. Now, some people did find their husband in college, but I knew for myself that I would not. So I got in my career and then that's when, it came about. However, I always had my own. It was like I never had to do if I was going to live or was a single parent, I would be okay with that. I had a support system and I had my own career. So I never depended on a male to help me out or to do. Now we come together because I was already whole. So we come together to produce and make and provide and things of that nature. But I could still stand alone. Not that I'm dependent on this person and I know nothing about finances and I know nothing about life insurance and I know nothing about anything else. I have been that way, and so I raised my child that way. So it's like, your great grandmoms or your grandmothers always told you, or their children never leave home without 25 cents back in the day to call, use the payphone to call somebody.
Right.
Okay, that is the way I raised, my daughter. Always have your own, never depend on. And even if that man, like some men want the woman to be like not working, let's say they're in their career, and that's okay if that's what you agree with. That is fine if that's what you agree with. But for me and the type of person I am, I tried that and I could not be a stay-at-home parent. There's no way in the world. And my hat is off to all the women who can be that. But for me and my personality and the type of individual that I am, I could not do it. And my hat's off to those who can, because there's just so much cleaning up you could do, and it's just so much doggone working out and cooking and all of that foolishness. No, I couldn't. So I've always raised her that way.
I have a
So
question for Mr. Curtis.
Go ahead.
yes.
How do you feel about women, let's say, not depending on a man and having their own?
I don't see anything wrong with that.
Okay.
I don't see anything wrong with that. I think that just shows that she's very confident in herself and her abilities to be self-sufficient. So I don't have a problem with a woman having her own. You know what I'm saying? It's no problem with that. Some men do have an issue with that.
That was my
because
other question.
feel,
Some men have a problem with that.
we want to feel like we're needed in a relationship, but many shows back we talked about this, and your mom put me on the spot. So I'm going to go back to this and say it's okay to have that, but if you're going to be in a relationship with a man, at least allow him to do something for you, cut your grass or car or something.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's going to come a point in time where some men think like this. It's going to come a point in time where what am I here for? What am I here for? If you can do all of this by yourself and you don't need me,
or you need me.
In those types of relationships, to me, there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to allow him to do something for you. You know, I mean, it's nothing wrong with that. But with the millennials, so let me ask you this: why y'all so quick to want to move in with each other in the millennial stage? You want to move in together. What's that about?
I truly don't know why it happened so fast. I'm just so caught up in like the cupcake stage. It's like, oh, I just want to be around this person so much. And, you're around that person all the time. And it's like, okay. But I feel like it is better to live with someone before you get married, because like, I guess like the women who
Fedora shaking her head. No,
no, let her finish. Let her finish.
Men who get married and then move in, or the couples who get married and then move in with each other, they start to learn a whole bunch of stuff that they don't like about the other person, like the way they live, the way they take care of themselves, their hygiene, all that stuff, the things that they didn't know about that they needed to know prior to getting married. That's what you find out with living with somebody, which could ultimately affect the decision to get married. Once you find out these different traits about that person that you don't know, it's like, well, dang, can I put up with this? He leave the seat up. That's like a huge pet peeve or something like that. Or he leave a ring around the tub, something like that. Just hygiene plays a big part in that. So I feel like knowing how a person lives and how they take care of themselves is a big factor before getting married. And you can learn that by living with somebody. Yes.
Question.
Yeah.
So why can't you have your place and he have his place? Stay over a couple nights and he stay over a couple nights.
Yes.
Don't you think you can still find out what you're looking for?
Oh, yes.
Over a couple nights. You stay over a couple nighs.
I prefer that.
You know that's not your thing. You can say that when you're staying over. Say, hey, why you leave seat up? What's that about?
Listen,
or
I totally agree with
that. Certain things that he might not like leaving the toothpaste top off, or you don't drink out the same glass. You got to get a different glass every time you go in the kitchen. He might not like that. He's like, hey, why you can't use the same cup? You know, every time you get something to drink, you got to get another glass.
Exactly.
When those things, so why not do that? Why we got to move in together? And what's the cupcake thing? Explain the cupcake thing to me. That's a new verb. I've never heard of it. cupcake thing?
So the moving in thing, when you said moving in, I honestly was thinking I didn't think a whole apartment for yourself. I'm thinking you staying the night and all that stuff. Cause I agree with that.
We're visiting. We're just,
I like that's like, let's say playing house. So what you just said, a couple of nights you stay over at my place, a couple of nights you stay at her place or whatever. I view that as, very valuable, and that's when you can learn, their hygiene. So I agree with you on that 100%. You don't have to go and get a whole separate apartment and up and leave and stuff. No. So I agree with you on that. But the cupcake stage is like the honeymoon phase after you get married. Like it's like the, oh, I love you. I want to be around you so much.
Oh, that's what the millennials doing. They call it the cupcake stage, where we just got to be up on each other all the time. And,
that's it.
okay, there you have it, America. Cupcake stage. That's the
new terminology.
Y'all never heard that?
Stage.
Honeymoon phase. We call it the honeymoon phase.
Okay,
never heard of cupcake.
Yeah, same thing.
But I guess it's all sweet. So yeah, okay.
Yeah. Fedora,
I like cupcakes.
You heard about the move-in thing? Go ahead and drop that knowledge on her about the move-in thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it just goes to show. Actually, I've been watching this show, Put a Ring on It. And it's several couples that are in different age stages of their relationship. And some have been together for like 10 years, right? And they're in your age group, right? And so the female now, and sometimes it's the female, sometimes it's the male. The male wants to get married and they've almost been there before, and then one or the other person backed out. And so they're still together, and now they're second guessing, should we stay together? Do we break up and go our separate ways, even though we've invested all this time together, or do we put a ring on it and get married and, move forward with our relationship? So for me, I'm like, and they all live together. They have their own apartments together, and they're not like, playing house. Well, yeah, they're playing house, but they're not in their separate apartments and then just visit one another. They have chosen to actually live. They all live together as a couple. So they've gone through different stages of their relationship. And so I said all that to say, I feel that if you're going to physically move in with the person, that you should be married, or at least engage about to be married. Like you're in the process of wedding planning. I don't think that you just need to be dating and, we're going to move in together. And, cause like my grandparents always said, they can be in there forever. And so, why pay for the cow if you can get the milk for free? And that's the metaphor. So it's just like, if I can get everything that a husband would receive from a wife and I don't have to put a ring on it, then why would I? Or vice versa, so that's where I am with that. What about you, Curtis? How do you feel about that?
Oh, wow.
Because I know you're old school. Like I'm old school, but I'm not as old school as you are.
What does that mean? Old school.
Like he like grandmama old school. Or granddad old school.
Wow.
Sorry about that, Curtis, but you are.
So yeah. Hey, listen, I was raised by my grandparents, so they're like Fedora was saying, they didn't believe in moving in together. Once you left the nest, you couldn't come back. That's it. If you decided that you wanted to move out of the house after they told you, and like Angel saying, cohabiting couples earn less money and are less wealthy than their married peers later in life. You know what I'm saying? Because we just living together. So we have nothing. We have established nothing together. So in 6 years, you could, like I said, you can walk out and say, I don't want. So now you got to start all over again, because you didn't invest anything. You invested time. That's all you did. You can't put anything in your name, because like Fedora said, later down the line, something happens to him or happens to you, and the family member come along and say, nope, this is what I want done. And there's nothing you can say because you're not blood relative. They can make those changes. So,
the metaphor, excuse for cutting you off, Curtis. I'm gonna say this real quick. The metaphor I just got is like paying rent and buying a house.
Paying rent and buying a house.
Because in a house, you can still look at it like you paying rent, but you have equity.
Right.
So go ahead, finish.
Yeah. So me growing up old school, I don't the living together thing is it's not a it's frowned upon in my family, you know what I'm saying? They don't believe in that. But once you decide after they done told you, don't do it, and they explain, like Fedora was saying, they explain it to you, you move out, you can't come back. That's it. So if I'm struggling to pay the rent, my granddaddy or my grandmother's like, baby, I don't know what to tell you. They could have a whole room in the house free, and they're gonna say, "Baby, I don't know what to tell you."
Ooh,
Why is that?
that's where we're different. That's where we're different.
Why is that? Because she, they raised us a certain way. They raised us to be responsible, and once you just all this knowledge and stuff that they gave you, and you just say, "Well, oh, you, mama, you old school. That's old school thinking." They like, okay. Or you say, Daddy, that's old school thinking. You acting too old. You know, people can make it out here, you know. But guess what? The millennials, we all about the $200 Jordans. You know, I'm serious. They rather buy a pair of Jordans than go grocery shopping. See what I'm saying? They rather buy a pair of Jordans, knowing that y'all need some food in the house. He'll go buy some. You got the fresh pair of Jordans, and he'll come to my house to get something to eat because I'm daddy. Daddy, what you cook today? What?
Ooh.
You
Mm.
See,
but
I'm
you
glad you
ain't
said
let kids go hungry. But for my generation, that's how we were raised. You don't live together. It's frowned upon.
Yeah.
Um, and hey, sometimes in our generation, like me being an 18-year-old man, if I didn't have a plan, what you gonna do? You couldn't stay there. You had to go. You had to go. So my plan was before I graduated high school, I knew I was either going to college or I was going to the military,
Mhm.
and I did both. I joined the reserve, and
Yes.
then I went to college. So once I had some issues with my tuition, I just went full time Army and never looked back because that was the rule. Once you leave the house, you couldn't come back. That's it. And if you did, and if they did, and like Fedora, if they did allow you back, the first question is, how long are you gonna be here?
I
That's the question.
definitely.
How long are you gonna be here? Because I've raised you now, and I taught you all the things that you need to be successful in life. I taught you about finances and paying your car notes and establishing a budget for yourself, knowing that you can't afford certain things. So you have to be on a certain kind of budget. So you can't live above your means. But I'm got to get on the millennials again. I'm not gonna call him in because he might be watching the show. I've got phone calls, hey, but I just seen you partying in the ATL, can you let me hold, $100, 200 till I get, and I'm like, yo, I just seen you in the ATL on Facebook. You were just in the ATL. You was making it rain money. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I definitely, yeah.
But I'm making wait a little bit, and I said, man, I'll see what I could do. And then,
Mhm.
but I gave it to him. You know what I'm saying? I gave it to him, but I'm making wait to think about it. Like, dang, how I'm gonna do this? You know what I'm saying? Because like I was taught, you're always supposed to have money in your pocket as a man. You should always have money in the bank. You should always have gas in your car and food in your house. All that extra stuff, you have what they call uh, uh where you just get screw off money. You know what I'm saying? Little change on the side. So I'm gonna just say my uncle,
Miscellaneous. Hmm.
miscellaneous. So my uncle and my aunt back in the day before us, the check would go to the woman. She pay all the bills. And if you want to go hang out the juke joint and go to the corner store and hang out with the fellas, you got like $20, $40. That was it. Once that money was gone, that's all your money from that paycheck. So you got when you get paid on Friday, you got that $40 for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all the way to the next pay period. That's it. So they had to think about how am I going to balance this money. So they already knew, well, I'm gonna hang out Friday, but you ain't gonna see me Saturday or Sunday. I gotta get lunch for the rest of the week. See what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
definitely um dang, my train of
Yeah.
thought. When it comes to how you raise your children and stuff like that, that does play a big part. You know, I'm not a mom, but it does play a big part on how your kids turn out. But I think one thing that parents do need to understand is that their children are not them. So you can raise them to be the best children ever in the world, but they're going to do what they want to do at the end of the day. They make their decisions the way they want to make their decisions. And a parent should let them you should guide them like, well, I don't think you should do that. You know, that's just my opinion. But you should let them make those mistakes because that's the only way they're going to learn. So let's say they move out. Like you said, your grandparents are, well, if you move out and I'm telling you not to, you can't come back. That's lining up, let's say a, not a defense, but a, not regret. It's like, I'm out. You basically disown me. I'm not going to talk to you no more. Like, don't talk to me once I make it because you kicked me out and you didn't even let me come back. So why do I need to talk to you at all? Like, you have no say you love me.
Grandmama.
You gonna kick me out and not accept me back in. What is that? If that's crazy. If I'm out here moving out, trying to make it on my own, regardless of what you're saying, you should let me try to make those mistakes and then be open to accept me back in the home once I do make those mistakes, because where else are they going to go? It's like you tried it, trial and error, you know? So it's crazy to me that your lovely grandparents did not let you back in the house if you moved out and not, didn't, it wasn't what you expected and they didn't let you back. So it's like, well, okay.
It was more of a lesson. Like, they'll let you come back, but you, like I said, they want to know how long you're gonna be here.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? Because they feel sorry for you. That's the grandparents. Second thing is, you're gonna need her before she needs you. Because guess what? You're starting out. You haven't established anything. So you're back. Once again, you're gonna need her before she needs you. So you might want to say, Grandma, you was right. You was right. You was right. And you got to take that verbal conversation that she's gonna give. It's gonna be long. About
for sure.
Yeah. So you got to take that. You can't be like,
If they're not letting you back in the house, it is like, okay, I ain't. If you can't let me back in the house, there's nothing to talk about. Like at that point. Like what?
So you're saying millennials take it as a negative instead of as a lesson.
It's all in the way you do it. Yes, it's the lesson is learned when you don't fail. I say you don't fail in life, you learn. So that's the lesson. When it don't work out, that's your lesson. It's like, dang, well, I got to start from square one. Where do I
not to make that mistake?
Yeah. So
and then go ahead.
You want to have that support system there. A lot of people don't, and they're just fine if you don't have a support system, because they do have that mentality like, okay, I really don't have nowhere else to go, so I have to make it, at the end of the day. That's a lot of people's mindset, especially I feel like in my generation. It's like, well, listen, I'm not trying to go back to where I was, so I have to do what I have to do to get to where I want to be. But if you do have that support system, if you do, have people that they say that they love you and they care about you or whatever, you not making it after you trying to do what you want to do and them not being there to, tell you maybe, okay, you never want to have that person to be like, well, I told you this, because then it's just a waste of conversation. Don't tell me something I already know. Like, we already know it didn't work out. So there's no reason for you to say, well, I told you so. That's like a slap in the face. So really, all they really need to do is be there as a shoulder, if that makes sense, and, tell you, well, I'm always going to be here. I'm always going to love you or whatever. But, maybe you can go about it this way next time at the end of the day.
I'm going to read this comment and I want you to respond.
Okay.
One of our viewers said, but why is it my problem as a parent that you made you mad and not so good?
You made a not so good choice.
That's a good choice.
Yeah.
It's not your problem. But then the parent acts like they've never made a not so good choice. And I know that's not the case. So we need to be realistic, because ain't nobody perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody makes not good choices at the end of the day,
I like this one. Support and sponsorship are two different things. Talk to me. Boy, that's my girl right there. Talk to me. Yeah.
definitely have your own.
So basically, what she's saying, if I continue to let you come back, now I'm sponsoring you. But if I support you, I might can slide you a couple of dollars because you can't come back here because we already had this conversation.
I mean, I guess
that's supporting. Hey, mom, can I get mom, can I borrow $50 until I get paid? And then Miss Fedora be like, yeah, you can borrow $50, but on when you get paid, I need to see my money back.
Yes, for sure. Y'all are talking about a repetitive thing. Like they keep trying to make it and then they come back every time. Like, no, I'm speaking of like a one-time thing. They try to make it or whatever and they come back and you still don't want to open the door. That's a problem.
So you say one time.
One time. I'm speaking one time. Now, after that, especially, I'm glad you said he, because a lot of hymns in this generation do spend a lot of money on the non-necessary things in life when they got bills due or they don't take care of kids, but they in the club. It's a whole bunch of in that situation. So I'm only speaking for myself and hopefully females and stuff like that. I don't know. A lot of men do that in this generation. I definitely agree with you on that. So definitely don't encourage that act. Well, they keep on doing this, they messing off their money or whatever, and they always want to come back to the house or whatever. No, definitely lay some grounds down. Like, listen, you came back 5 times. Like, what are you doing? You 28, you 35. You need to get what you got going, and you need to get up out my house for sure. But if a person, like you said, you had a plan, go to college or go to the army. You went and you did both. But let's say you didn't like the army, and let's say you didn't, college was not for you. You had that mindset, well, I have to make it regardless because I cannot go back. That is not an option. But if you have that option to get back on your feet and recreate a new plan, because obviously your plans might not work the first time. That's a good thing to have that to fall back on, See, me, I have a bachelor's degree and I'm getting my master's in December as a backup plan if my bachelor's degree does not work out. Okay. So I'm planning, let's say career-wise, but not relationship-wise, but things like that. So I think it is important for people to have, especially of this generation, to have a support system to fall back on, not repeatedly to get comfortable on it, just to know that, well, I know they will always love me and they will be there for me, but don't abuse it, if that makes sense.
So like a soft place to land temporarily.
Yes. Yeah. But we shouldn't get comfortable in, well, if I, spend this money, I know my mom will give me $20 anyway. No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Okay. So let's go back to relationship real quick. So let's say you meet this guy, you cool with him, you digging him. He's a millennial guy. Yeah. And let me tell you about the new millennial guy. Since Lil Wayne been hanging with his pants way down there where you can see his underwear. Okay? So this the millennial guys that I see. You can't really say anything to them because they don't respect us. They don't respect, nobody else. So you meet this guy, he's cool or whatever. And you say, well, you know what? I think it's time you meet my mom. And your mom says, Ashley, there's something about this guy. I don't know. I just can't put my finger on it. But there's something about this guy.
And usually they be right. That's the sucker punch about it. They be right. That little intuition, but you gotta let them learn, right? But
so as the daughter that mom then said, hey, let me talk to you in the kitchen. Something ain't right about this guy. Are you gonna listen to mom and like you say, or you gonna say, well, mom, let me make my own mistake because I really like him. He's really cool and we pop bottles together. Not that y'all do that, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just telling you, that's what I see. This is what I see. I go out, I see what's going on with the like your age group. I see what's going on. That's the fascination. He buying drinks all night. He popping bottles.
Ain't that crazy?
He throwing money in the air.
Ain't that is not attractive? I'm sorry. Listen, I don't care how much money you got. If you can supply all that, but if you not right, let's say you're not treating me right, what's the point? But anyways, that's a whole different topic. If my mom came to me and said, I'm not really feeling this, I can't just be like, well, Bobby, my mom says she don't like you, so I got to break up with you. No, I can't do that. I have to, I have to fill it out and learn for myself because as like you guys said, you guys have insight on whole different things that we don't have. Let us get that insight. We got to experience it. We got to find out for our dang self. We can't just be like, well, Mr. Curtis told me that, he got a bad vibe about you, so I'm going to have to cut it off. I can't work it out with you. You see how crazy that sounds? You have to learn yourself, That makes sense, right? I know that makes sense, so it's okay.
It does.
Makes sense. So,
but you're saying you're not going to necessarily break up with that person right away, but your radar will be keen and you will be looking out for stuff.
Exactly. I'm not going to completely blow off what you tell me. No, because obviously a woman's intuition is, it's on point, whatever. And if I haven't seen it and my mom sees it, then it's like, okay, maybe I need to start looking at things a little closer. Maybe I need to pick up on different things. But no, I will not just break it off with that person if my loved one has a bad vibe of that person. Because one, loved ones are very judgmental. Let's get that off top. They are very judgmental, especially if they're not what they envision your child to be with. That's
right. Is that right?
Okay. That is a fact. Exactly. That's a fact. Yeah. But you don't know a person the way your child might know that person that they're with. You know what I'm saying? So it makes you way longer to, adjust to that person or get to know that person and actually understand why they are the way they are and if they treat your child correctly, which hopefully they do. But you're going to have to let them learn on their own. You can't just expect them to break it off because you said so. Sorry.
Yeah.
No? It's okay. You to break it off?
Okay.
I mean, I respect that. I mean, because you do, as long as you're not blowing the person who said that, because they said it for a reason, and then it's left up to you to turn that radar on and start looking with clearer eyes. Because when people are in relationships, they're most times with that representative, and somebody else can see the true person coming through. So eventually that representative will leave and the true person will start to reveal themselves. And then you just want that individual who is your loved one or niece, nephew, or what have you, to be able to have open eyes to see that. So, and that's the thing, because it's like, I would always say when I was coming up with my mom, it was like she would give you a suggestion, but she would expect you to do that suggestion. Like, and I know I'm probably that way too, but I will always tell her, don't expect me to do that suggestion. If it's your opinion, if it's a suggestion, then I have a choice to follow that or not. But don't judge me if I don't follow that. Like, so, and I try to. I know some things I probably have been that way with you, Ashley, but for the most part, I think fair to say that most of the time I try to remember that for myself and say, okay, it's your choice whether you follow it or not, and I don't judge you for it if you don't follow my suggestion. I don't look at you side-eyed in that way.
Is that like passive aggressive? Is that an example of passive aggressiveness? Is that a word?
What? When you give a suggestion? No, not necessarily. Okay. It's just you giving a suggestion and you're expecting that person to follow what you just said. To do it. And you might feel salty or some type of way if that person doesn't do what you said. And then that's when the individual needs to take a look and say, okay, this was a suggestion, not that this person has to follow it. And I mean, and that's in life, you got it. Yeah.
So next question, without marriage, is love valid in a relationship?
Yes. Period. Yes. That's it. My answer is yes. Please prove me wrong. Please try. I really want to know. How is it not valid from a piece of paper? How? Please tell me.
Yeah. I think so. I'll look at it not for a person. Let's say if like when you're first dating or whatever, and you might be dating for a little bit, and that other person says, I love you before the other person does, right? And sometimes when a person says, I love you, you feel pressure into saying, I love you too. But you, as a person who said, I love you, and I had to learn this later in my life, you, the person that said, I love you, you should not expect that person to say it back right away, because unless they do, and you should not, it should not be a pressure for that other individual to feel to say it prematurely if they don't feel it. So
Right.
when you say it, you kind of almost have to put a precursor and say, you don't have to say that to me, but I just want you to know that that's the way I'm feeling. I love you. But you don't, if you don't feel that way, by all means, do not say it. And you, as a female or a male, have to be comfortable within yourself to know that it's okay for you to give love and for that person not to be on that level at that particular time. Now, if they get to that level, while you're still at that level, if they rise to that level or they do not, you have to be okay with that. And then let's say y'all split up, but you can split up and remain cordial or remain friends, and you're not looking at that person like, oh, I hate them because we broke up or whatever. No, you love that person at that particular time, but at the time, God bless you, that
Thank you.
person couldn't meet you at that level, and for whatever circumstance it didn't work out, but you still love that person and you guys didn't get married. So yeah, you can have, and that love was valid. That love you felt for that person, it was valid. And they liked you a whole lot, but they couldn't say, oh, I love you without, a shadow of doubt or that unconditional love. So in that aspect, yes, of course, you love is valid without marriage.
Oh, I
So there
think
you go.
she froze on us.
Huh?
I think she froze on us because I was going to ask the next question was, um, okay, you got the love. What else? What else are you looking for in a relationship? The
Mm.
millennials. You
Oh,
know, for us, I know it's more than that. It's a whole lot more than that. So uh,
yeah.
when she gets back on it, we hope we can find out what else is for the millennials. Because I mean, for I guess for our generation, love was just that was one part of it. You know, um,
Hmm.
to say I want to marry this person. However, there are other things that played a part too. You know, what's the future going to be like? Are we planning on having kids? Are we going to go to college? If we haven't attended college yet, who's going to say so? Are you going to be a stay-home wife, or all those things play important. Okay, if
You
I'm
going to
our
work?
breadwinner, what's going to happen? What's the
Who's
future?
gonna pay the bills as far as manage the bills? Who's that better person
Like,
in the relationship to do that?
and in our
Yeah.
generation, we understood that the man was the head of the house, and he controlled majority of the bills. The woman didn't have to pay for that. He paid the car note, the 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 mortgage, the insurance, or whatever. But it was a shared experience, but that was understood prior to. So for the millennials, I don't think they get that part. You want to live together, but love is there. But what else? If we're talking about transitioning further in our relationship, like you said,
Mom.
we just paying rent. What did you say? She just yelled at you. she just
She trying to get
yeah,
back in, but it keeps freezing.
uh,
Hold
uh,
on.
yeah. So we just paying rent together.
Yeah.
I
And like you
I
said,
think
it's a shared thing, but it has to be something that, like, if you both are working and you both are contributing to the household, then you should have that. And everybody's marriage is different. Some men want to be like, okay, I'm paying all the bills. Some men will say, okay, I pay the mortgage, you can pay your car note, maybe the insurance on the cars, and then they pay everything else. But it's no judgment when it's half and half. Let's say you take it down the thing and split it. It's whatever works in that relationship, and depending upon how you grew up, how you were raised, or whatever, or what you two come together and agree upon, whether you're going to have joint bank accounts or separate bank accounts,
mhm.
and then you have a joint bank account together and you put so much money in there to save or to pay bills. Whatever works for that relationship is what is going to work regardless. There's no set that you have to do this, the man has to pay all the bills. No, there should not be a set thing only in that relationship, in that marriage, that it should work for those two individuals. Because sometimes the man might not be the person to pay all the bills, or to go online and pay them, or back in the day mail in that check, or go stand in line, because he may not be that scheduled or have that, that, I guess, gift to do that. But the woman might be, okay, I'm paying this on time because I'm worried about our credit. I want to boost our credit up. I know this, and this. You have to know your lane when what you're good at, what you're gifted at in a relationship, and do those things to bring the unity together, and for you to, be productive. You don't want to set yourself up for failure. So if you don't pay bills on time, don't be trying to take over the bills. I don't care if you are the man and the head of the household. Yes, you still head. You the head of the household. But right now, mama and baby boo is gonna pay these bills, because I know that we got to get our credit up, and this gonna be paid on time. So yeah, you just got to know what you agree upon.
Besides love being valid, what else? What are the other expectations in a relationship for the millennials?
For the millennials, I feel like a lot of females and males think that money justifies the entire relationship. Like, a man can go cheat on a woman 20,000 times and give him like $1,000, like, go to the mall, buy what you want. They're like, okay. No, that's idiotic to me. But I'm not shaming nobody. Get it how you live, do what you got to do. But I feel like that is a factor in my generation's standards of love. So you got to have a lot of money, all that stuff. My thing, I've been in a relationship for 4 years, almost 5. And he has treated me, better than I have ever been treated. I am 24 years old. Like, like he treats me very well. But we're both growing. We're both learning. I don't expect him to have everything, and he doesn't. Same thing for him. He doesn't expect me to have everything. But what's important, I feel like, for love, other than love, is respect, boundaries, things like that, worth. So you knowing your worth, and your partner knowing your worth as well, knowing what you got, so you don't fumble it, or what it say, fumble the bag or whatever. Don't do that. It's a lot that plays into a relation. God, you have to have a foundation, or anything that you believe into. I mean, that's just me personally, but not everybody does that. Spirituality, things like that, all play into a relationship for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
because they all are important in different ways.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just asking because you say Fedora and I just ran down a whole lot of stuff that is expected in our generation. We talking about relationship and transitioning to marriage. In that relationship, we need to know, like Fedora saying, what's your credit score? Are you if you got a high school degree, are you planning on getting another, or are you planning to go to college and get another degree? Because just to tell you about a little bit about back when I was coming up, a high school degree was for you to get a job. A college degree is a career. Some people might disagree with that because they can say, well, you don't have to go to college. You can get a trade, and that's a career, But if you're looking to, I think if you're looking to sustain, I think the college degree is the route to go, because you can play with the numbers and say, hey, I got a master's degree in social work. You're not gonna pay me $50,000. I'm worth 80. So let's talk about can you meet me in the middle here? What
negotiate. Yeah.
Right.
You have negotiating power, and education is power. Yeah.
You can't say, well, I got 10 years of trucking experience, so I need to get $70,000 a year. And they saying, well, do you have a logistics degree where you can work, sometimes drive the truck and sometimes work the warehouse and ship out the stuff for me? Can you do that? I can give you $70,000 if you got a associate's or bachelor's in logistics. Whereas, you don't have to drive all the time. If you got 10 years and you've been driving for 10 years, I could use you to train some people, or I could use you to do this. But do you have the degree to support that? I can pay you more. I don't think the millennials are, even
aware
though, even though the research says that the millennials are more educated than we are, more opportunities to get educated, and more opportunities to get better jobs and things of that. When it comes to, I think, relationships, those are things that need to be discussed. And I think everybody is just, like you said, we're just going through the motions. We're having fun. Well, how long are we going to have fun before you realize it's time to grow up? It's time to establish that foundation. So at the end of the day, if I want to have kids, or I want to leave this job and move somewhere, or I want to move into the marital stage with Ashley, because hey, we've been doing this, so we good. But now my bank account says $100 and your bank account says $100 because we living for the moment. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
you definitely have to have those conversations for
yeah.
sure. Just not straight off the bat. Like that shouldn't be something you looking for.
No, not in the beginning, because y'all just
Yeah.
puppy love.
But those
Cupcaking, as you call it. Cupcaking, y'all cupcaking. Yeah.
You definitely, as you get older and as you experience more stuff with that person, yes, those conversations should come to light, because that's just something that you're going to have to deal with later in life if you do want to keep going on with this relationship. Real world things, will happen. So you have to have those conversations, but definitely don't go into a relationship. Well, you got bad credit, so I can't. You work at McDonald's, so you can't. As long as you're doing something,
right?
That's it. Because the only way you go is up. Right. In my head.
Yeah. So.
And the trade schools, they get paid. Like, they definitely having let's say going to a trade school and not a 4-year college. I feel like one's not better than the other. I had not thought about it the way you had said it, because maybe if you have, let's say, a master's or a certain degree, that company that you work for can use you for other things. So you do then qualify for a higher paying thing. But the best experience is hands-on experience. So, and trade schools do a lot of that. And I feel like trade schools don't get enough credit as they should, because they do set up careers for people who don't want to, let's say, go to
people, we can agree to disagree, but I've just used my nephew, for instance. He just told me, I helped raise him, and so he was one of my dependents. And I talked to him about college, and then once he did his college campus recruiting, because he played sports, he was like, I don't want to waste your money. College is not for me. Because he was looking at the other things that college was showing him, that they were showing him as an athlete. He was like, ooh, and his eyes was left and right. And he's like, nah. So I said, well, what about trade? So he said, well, that's the route I go. So he's looking into welding, and that's the trade he want to do, welding, because they pay good money on that. So I was like, okay, that's cool. I'll support that. But you got to think about something. The Burger King thing, that's okay. But I think we need to think outside the
higher.
Higher. Yeah. We need to get outside the working at the Burger King. And like my said, she said that you 30 years old still working at Burger King and McDonald's. And you
need to be owning it. You need to be owning it. If it's a franchise that you owning, then yes.
You still making hamburgers at 30 years old working. Come on, man, really? It's a job. I got it, but
it's not a career.
I don't think that's it's not a career. And I don't think that's where you should be. You can, if you just reach out and expand it and just try, I think you can do better.
But what if they really like working at McDonald's and Burger King? Like, it makes them happy, because happiness is number one for me as well.
There's
if they don't have a family, if it's just them,
there's management opportunities, that you can aspire to be, and guess what? Sometimes I don't think they even require you to have you got, like I said, you got the hands-on experience. They'll send you to the school to learn the stuff that you need to learn to be a manager. So why you stand in the line? It's just
it's a lot. As long as you're doing something, I ain't finna knock nobody who do what you got to do. As long as you're doing something,
And then now for most millennials, and I really love the fact that you guys think outside the box in your entrepreneurship and going, and everything is technology now. And oh my gosh, you guys just, like, the world is your oyster, because you have so many opportunities and you think outside the box. Back in my day, it was the typical jobs, like lawyer, judge, doctor, dentist, things of that nature. But now you guys can develop software, create a button to push on a freaking website, content like commercials, everything is everybody's trying to sell something. So in that aspect, I really love the entrepreneurship and the thinking outside the box, the being creative to get your bag. I really really love that about the millennial generation. So, and those are the ones that are going after it and doing it,
Right.
and following their dreams. Because a lot of us and our parents, they had dreams, but a lot of them didn't follow them. And I always say it is never, I don't care how old you are, it is never too late to follow a dream that you have, because God gave us all gifts, right? And our purpose is to share those gifts with others. So if you can find that gift and that something that is a drive, and to think, okay, I would do this even if I didn't get a paycheck, you know? And if that's your gift that you're supposed to give, then your talents or your gifting will make way for you, to do it. So yeah.
They got a hustle in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Ashley, we are going to continue this conversation. So we want you to come back because we could talk about a lot of other things in which we're not gonna, we running out of time today, but we want you to come back and we're going to try to invite some more millennials so that we can compare to some different things and talk about different perspectives of life and money and the working environment and things of that nature. But we've come to the end of another episode of Sweet 915 with me and Miss Fedora. So I'm gonna let Miss Fedora say something. Well, actually, I'm gonna let Ashley speak first.
Mhm.
Just anything you want to tell the people before we get out.
Final thoughts.
Yeah, final thoughts.
Thoughts. I enjoyed being on the show. I look forward to being on it again.
Yeah.
Just throwing this out there, everybody, you do not have to get married. Okay? I'm just going to throw it out there. You don't have to get married. If that does not make you happy, do it. Life is too short,
You gonna make me strangle her.
Make you happy. Happiness is key. Love is key. Everything is great. But listen, don't get married. If you don't want to get married, don't get married. If you want to get married, girl, get married. That's get married. But if not, don't. Okay? Those are my final thoughts. Have a blessed night,
Right.
guys.
We're gonna talk about this marriage thing again with you. Hey, Dora, what you said? She giving the milk and get the cow. You was telling me that analogy, you can get the cow and the milk and all that stuff.
Yeah, I say don't. Why would a person, an individual, want to buy the cow if they get the milk for free?
There you
So
go.
it's just like, yeah. So yeah, I'm not gonna even respond to that because
Don't be pressured. And women, don't pressure your man to get married. Don't do that because ultimatums, they don't work out and y'all gonna end up getting divorced anyway. So do not pressure a man to put a ring on it. Okay, he'll do it when he wants to. All right. That's the last
and
one.
vice versa for women too, because some
Yes,
women
exactly.
are that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
My final thoughts are, vote vote on Tuesday. It's very, very important. Make sure you have an informed vote. And as I always say, keep love in your heart and be blessed. And please stay safe and don't get in trouble with this curfew. Stay home. Stay home.
Stay
Wear your
home.
mask when you're out.
Yeah. Hey, remember, we're still looking for people to talk about relationships during the pandemic. If you would like to be a guest, email us at therealsweet915@gmail.com. We would love to have you on the show to talk about dating during the pandemic because we know you got to stay in. So we're trying to figure out how are you doing and how are you, doing your relationship thing. And next week we will remember that we will have our special guest talking about domestic violence and narcissism. I look forward to talking about this one. And remember,
Don't we have a poster child for narcissism already?
All right.
No.
Okay, all right.
I know. So, hey, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Sweet 915. Thank you again. Remember, no topics is taboo and life is sweet.
It is.